And it was actually somebody that asked this question. It was a question based on 8:16. Says, the Ruach himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of Elohim. And basically she asked, what does that mean? How is that? And I figured that after everything that we've considered over the last several months, it would kind of be a self-explanatory thing. So let's speak to our Elohim. We'll take a look at ourselves as a vessel. We've spent a lot of time talking about within him we live and move and have our existence. But what is it to be a vessel? Okay, so Father, we thank you for this time together. We ask that you'll open our eyes, open our ears, and open our hearts, so we become aware of your spirit within our own spirit. And we thank you in the name of Yahushua. Amen. All right. So, let's go back to, was it 11? Okay. And if the Ruach of him who raised Yahushua from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Mashiach from the dead shall also give life to your mortal bodies through his Ruach dwelling in you. Based on what we've considered, okay, now we have a spiritual component, that if the same spirit that raised Messiah from the dead dwells in you, then that spirit can give your mortal body life. Okay? How do we relate that to what we considered last week as far as the inward man? Because last week we looked at this idea of being balanced on the inside, but yet it's the body, the outside part of us, that's always struggling against itself. So if the same spirit that raised Mashiach, that raised Yahusha from the dead, dwells within us, how does this affect our physical lives? How does this affect our physical lives? Not all at once. Slow down. I can only take a couple at a time. What causes us not to receive what we believe that we will receive? Doubt. Why do we doubt? What do we talk? Okay. What do we talk about in the inward man? Remember, it said Panaim ha'adam, or ha'adam panaim, the presence of the Adam. And we said Panaim from Panay means face. And face has what? It has our senses. Okay? What we see, what we hear, what we smell. All of these things affect our physical or spiritual belief system. Because if I have the Ruach HaKodesh dwelling within me, and I am echad, I am in union or in unity with Yahuwah Elohim, then what keeps that unity, so to speak, from manifesting itself physically in my life? I could be a prime example. Okay? When I asked you to pray for me, what did I ask? Did I?
Thankful for the perfect health.
Okay. I asked you to pray for perfect health. Okay? But if someone is praying for healing for me, then are they praying in their own opinion, or are they praying in something that the Ruach can actually manifest itself in? Everybody with me? Okay. And I get this a lot, and I use myself as an example because sometimes I'm a mess. So, but I use myself as an example. You don't look well. You look pale. Are you sick? All these are things. Yes. How do we come to those ideas? What are those ideas based on? What we see. what we hear, what we smell, okay? So if I say the same Ruach that raised Mashiach from the dead dwells in me, how does that affect my being raised from Mut? Or how does it affect my receiving life within my mortal body? And how does it affect my receiving life into my very life? Okay? Or how does it affect me receiving good in my life as opposed to simply mediocre in my life? Okay? So the idea that the Ruach HaKodesh is present and dwells within us is something that we also must become aware of. Because only in this can we turn the page and go to 15 that says, you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear. You received the Ruach of adoption by whom you cry out, Abba, Father. Okay? So if I have a relationship with Yahweh Elohim because my spirit and his spirit are united, then I should not have fear. What is fear? Anybody have an idea of fear other than scary things? Okay. Well, no, that's actually a very good answer. False evidence. Okay. What is faith, according to what Paul tells the Hebrews? It's the evidence of things hoped for, or it's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Okay? But if I refuse to believe, then what do I get? Again, it goes back to what you bind on earth is bound in heaven. What you loose on earth is loosed in heaven. So we have to be able to do something. 16 says, the Ruach himself bears witness with our spirit that we are Bnei HaElohim. All right. The Ruach bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of Elohim. I'm a child of Elohim. Kind of an overrated idea. We're all children of Elohim. Atheists are children of Elohim. We're all his creation. He has created all of us. Okay? We look at B'nai from a different point of view, though. If we look at B'nai from the root structure, the Bana HaElohim, then it's more than becoming a child of Elohim. But now, my Ruach and the Ruach of my Elohim are in unity. They are in agreement. And because of this, I am restored and established in Elohim. So it becomes more than just simply, oh, you're a child of God. Because we throw around that phrase, Yehusha was the son of Elohim, Ben HaElohim. But he was the only begotten of the Father, full of the grace and truth of Elohim. So, yes, he was the son of God. And back in the 4th century, it would have been a big deal because they were still loving Hercules. This got me in trouble a few years back. But we understand that he was the only begotten of the Father that was full of the favor of the Father and the truth of the Father. He was in perfect harmony with the Father. Why was Yehusha able to do what Yehusha was able to do? Okay. He didn't lack belief. He believed fully that the Father. Everything the Father tells me, that I will do. Okay? I don't do this of myself, but I do it of the Father who has sent me. Okay? And this becomes a very important factor when we consider what do we do in the morning and in the evening, or what should we do in the morning and the evening? Shema. Again, the Shema Yisrael. Am I aware that Elohim prevails in my life? Am I aware of being under the authority of my Elohim in every aspect of my life, at every moment that I exist? And then Yahuwah Echad, am I Echad? Am I in agreement with Echad has a numerical value of 13. Reminds me of the Mem. Am I in agreement with his word? And if I am in agreement with his word, and he is in agreement with his word, then I am also Echad, that means to be in unity with. Echad is a Hebrew word for one. But this is why the Shema becomes such an important thing for us. We understand it more than simply a statement. Okay? We have a very, very, very old book. How do we apply this very old book that was given to a people who were supposed to have shared this knowledge with the world around them? And instead of doing that, they got involved in all kinds of other things. Because what it's doing is it's actually pushing us down towards 19, which becomes an important verse if we understand what we've just talked about. Everybody clear with where we're at? Okay. We read this, 19, for the intense longing of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of Elohim. Okay, so does this mean that Ish and Isha, Adam and Eve and Seth and all those dudes that are all dead and gamey because they're all decomposed are eagerly awaiting the coming of Mashiach? That's how we read it. We read all the dead patriarchs and everything are eagerly awaiting the world to come and all this. But we have to look at this word for creation. Okay? The longing of the creation. And the word for creation in this verse in the Hebrew is bara. Bara. There. Where'd he go? There he goes. Habarahi. Okay? It ends with a hey, which normally we wouldn't see that, but if we spell bara, beit, resh, aleph, hey, it means more than simply something that's created. It means something that is new, something that is restored, something that is renewed. So what do I consider then? The intense longing of the renewal within me eagerly waits for the revealing of B'nai HaElohim. What do we say B'nai HaElohim means other than simply the son of Elohim? If we consider the root Bana. Okay? The restoration and the establishment of Elohim. So let's take a look at this. The intense longing of that has been restored eagerly waits for the revealing of the B'nai HaElohim. Not waiting for the son of Elohim. This is a plural. It's waiting for the sons of Elohim. So are we waiting for the sons of Elohim who are the sons of Elohim? You know, because we could take it from King James and simply we're waiting for the son of Elohim, and everything reverts back to, oh, we're waiting for Yahushua to come back and all this. But if we look at this from the point of view of the roots again, there's an intense longing for restoration that waits for the revealing of the restoration and the becoming established that comes from Elohim. How does that relate to my spirit and the spirit of Elohim being together? If I go back up this, it says the Ruach himself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of Elohim. How do I know that I'm restored and established in Elohim? Slow down, one at a time. How do I know that I'm restored and established in Elohim? If we go back to that verse in 23, but 7, that another law in my members, battling against the Torah of my mind and bringing me into the captivity of the law of sin, which is in my members, what keeps me from fully entering into a relationship with my Elohim? Me. I do. Who's ultimately responsible for your relationship with Yahuwah Elohim? Well, everybody knows that it's the pastor or the televangelist or the rabbi, You know, I'm not responsible for anything. Somebody else has to be responsible for my relationship with Elohim, right?
That's what you taught me. You taught me.
Okay. So we work out our relationship with our Elohim with reverence and trembling. Now, the word used for trembling, and I've somewhere else in that our Bible, but this is Paul again. Work out your relationship with Elohim with fear and trembling, but work it out with reverence and the fear of separation. Now, this becomes an important point, because if I am wanting to be echad, if I'm wanting my spirit and the spirit of Elohim to be together as a witness, as ad. It's interesting because the Hebrew of this in verse 16 uses the word ad for witness. Why is that interesting? Talked about it a number of times. Ad is spelled ayin dalet. Let's see that again. The Ruach himself bears witness with our spirit that we are Banach Elohim, that we are restored and established in Elohim. How do I get my spirit and the spirit of Elohim to become in agreement? If it bears ad, witness. It takes us back to the last letter of Shema in the Shema. When we look at it in Hebrew, whether we look at it from Paleo-Hebrew or Modern Hebrew, Paleo-Hebrew, the ayin is raised above all the other letters. In regular Hebrew, it's bigger than all the other letters. And in Echad, the Dalet, in Paleo, is raised above all the other letters. In regular Hebrew, it's bigger than all the letters. So the last letter of Shema, the last letter of Dalet, the first and the last word, you put them together, it spells ad. That our witness is within our ability to Shema, perceive, discern, understand, obey, apply, be content in the word of Elohim. Does that require me to only be spiritual? Ooh, I'm so spiritual. Don't breathe my air. Or do I also have to be physical? Can my spirit pick up a talit and put a talit on? No, I need a body. I need hands. Can my spirit open up a Bible? Can my spirit open up any literature that deals with something that I need to be aware of? I need a body. Ish and Isha have to be in balance. Okay? This is where Adam has to be in balance. Ish and Isha has to be in balance. The inward man has to become aware, but the only way he can become aware is through the Shema. Okay? And it's interesting because it uses that word witness in the midst of that particular verse in 8:16. And it says in 17, if the children also heirs, truly heirs of Elohim and co-heirs with Mashiach, if indeed we suffer with him in order that we also be exalted together. What does that mean? Based on what we've just considered. If the children also heirs, okay, so what is the word that we're looking at for heirs? Okay. Well, in this particular case, we're looking at something that's more important, which is the word vechaya, or nechaya. Nechaya means the continuance of life. Okay? The continuance of life goes to the children who are co-heirs. What is an heir to something? If I have an inheritance, what does that mean? Am I going to receive something from the Father? Do I have to wait for the Father to die to receive it? Did the will of the Father die in order for me to receive my inheritance? Did it? Yahusha had to die. The Word died. If the Word died, then I become, yes, I'm an heir of what the Father has given me, but I become a co-heir with Mashiach now. Does that make sense? No? Or did I lose you? What were you going to say, though? Oh, okay. Well, you might forget between now and then. Okay. All right. All right. So, do I have an inheritance within the kingdom? Do I have an inheritance that was paid for? The question is the Father going to leave an inheritance to a child who is not in agreement with the instructions to receive that inheritance? Okay. And that's the thing. Yahusha paid the price for us to be able to be in agreement. Okay? And because he paid the price for us to be able to be in agreement, then we become co-heirs with, more than the idea of co-heirs with Mashiach. Okay? We're co-heirs with some guy named Messiah. There's a lot of Messiahs in the Bible. The word Mashiach is used a lot. Okay? The high priest is a Mashiach. The Cohen is a Mashiach. The kings are Mashiachs. Some of the judges were Mashiach. Okay? Anyone who is anointed of Elohim becomes Mashiach. Do I look at it from a deeper perspective, the idea that it's the anointing of Yahuwah that makes me an heir to the kingdom? How do I receive and maintain the anointing of Yahuwah my Elohim? Well, the answer to that goes back to, I've lost my page, there it goes back to the intense longing of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of Elohim. The intense desire of what is restored within me seeks to become restored and established in Elohim. What keeps me from seeking that desire? Is it a spiritual thing? Torah gives us two answers. Torah says that, Paul gives us two answers concerning the Torah. The first one, he says that Torah teaches us about Hatat. Torah teaches us when we stray off course. So if Torah teaches us when we stray off course, what aspect of our lives is that dealing with? Our physical aspects or our spiritual aspects? Okay, we could say both, but it also, he goes on to say that the Torah is spiritual. So now, I mean, that's kind of a given. What aspect of our life now is Torah dealing with if Torah is spiritual? Okay, so the word of Elohim is given to us in physical form for us to be able to physically relate to it, but only through being able to perceive, discern, and understand what it is telling us can we become new. Can we become bara, restored and established as the restored and the established of Elohim. And in doing so, verse 21, the creation itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the esteemed freedom of the children of Elohim. So we look at, you're going to be delivered from corruption. And when we look at corruption, we think, your body's corrupted and it's all, bent out of shape, and it's going to be delivered from that, and you're going to be restored back to a glorious body in heaven. Because everybody is anxiously awaiting to die so they can go to heaven and have all this stuff. Were we ever meant to actually die? We were created to live. So if we were created to live, then everything that we deal with within the Torah is telling us that we must apply this while we are alive. And then only in that way does the corruption move towards becoming kavod, esteemed, move towards the honor of Elohim. And when it moves towards the honor of Elohim, we move towards being B'nai HaElohim, the restored and the established of Elohim. And then finally, for we know that all the creation groans together and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now. And not only so, but even we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Ruach, we ourselves also groan within ourselves, eagerly waiting for the adoption as sons. So this is only relevant to men. I guess all you ladies are just out of luck. The redemption of our body. Okay? Let's look at it from a different point of view. Not only so, but even we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Ruach. What are the first fruits of the Ruach? Love, joy, peace, patience. Lots of other ones. 9 of them. Okay, there we go. I can't remember them. I'll confess. Okay. We develop what with the Ruach? What are we created in? We're created in the image and the likeness of Elohim. When we consider the fruits of the Ruach, then we have to consider that those fruits make us into the image and likeness of Elohim. And if we become in the image and likeness of Elohim by and through our Ruach being connected to the Ruach, then we're going to groan within ourselves. I'm going to be so upset because I'm in a relationship with my Elohim. Or is it something that maybe this doesn't mean to groan? Okay? We become aware within ourselves. Okay? The word 23 is ruach. Again, it becomes bene peshenu. Okay? We become aware. We become aware of ourselves, our spiritual condition, and then we eagerly await the adoption, not as sons, but we eagerly wait for the entering into the household firmly as B'nai. This is the children of Elohim. Elohim is not partial. But if I consider it B'nai HaElohim, more than simply saying the children of Elohim, I eagerly wait to enter into the household in a restored and established state of being. Then I receive the redemption of the body. Okay? So, am I meant to live out my existence even in the world to come in a spiritual body? How was I created? Before the transgression, how were we as Adam created? Were we but we at Bereshit 2:4, were we created strictly as spiritual beings? Elohim gathered together the wind and blew into the wind, and the wind became, what did he create? Okay. We're meant to be both physical and spiritual beings. That's what makes us unique, and that's what allows us to be in the image and likeness of Elohim. That's what allows us to chatat, stray off course. But it's also what allows us to come together and understand what the Word tells us, and in understanding what the Word tells us, allow our spirit to come into unity with our Elohim. And there's words for this in Hebrew mysticism, u'ah. You have kavanah, that is the idea of becoming so focused on prayer and study that you lose connection to the world around you. Then you have devakut, which is kavanah on steroids, where you totally lose your senses as to the world around you, because your spirit is connected. And this is where you lose the ability to actually make words. Okay? There's a lot of stuff about speaking in tongues and this and that, but there's a process to that. You can't be the best Pentecostal preacher and say, all right, everybody, I want you to go into your prayer language. It doesn't work that way. I have to work into that relationship, and then I have to work into being in that connection to